Oh, hello, hello, hello. How are we doing? It feels like it's been forever since the Japanese Grand Prix. I don't know about you guys, but I have definitely missed Formula One, and I am all set for a sprint weekend. The first sprint weekend of the 2024 season, and a new look to the sprint as well. We are live today for the sprint qualifying. Tomorrow we'll have the sprint. It's kind of gotten rid of that kind of, what was it, the Sprint Saturday feeling that we used to have. But there we are. Ricciardo outperforming his teammate in practice. So will he do it in qualifying? I mean, if the first four races are anything to go by, I'm not so sure. But you never know. You never know. With China back on the calendar, there's a lot of drivers who haven't driven this Chinese Grand Prix circuit. I've kind of missed China. I kind of forgot how ridiculous some of the Chinese Grand Prix are, and it's looking very grey out there. I know that there's no racing today, and a wet qualifying doesn't really change too much a lot of the time, but when we usually have a wet race, that's when something tasty might just happen. Hello, Raw Pork. We are now live. Hello, Levy in there as well. Lee in there. FYM Creeper. Damn. I miss China. It's been weird, hasn't it? Well, the problem is China has been on the calendar, but it hasn't been on the calendar. So China has been there every single season, and it's been confirmed every single season. And then as we've got closer and closer to it, they've always cancelled it sort of a couple of months before it actually was meant to happen. So we knew that China was always coming back, or at least we thought that China was always coming back. But it also just kind of led to a little bit of like, will it ever really return? Not really sure. But I feel like China is one of those Grand Prix that if this weekend goes well, I could see it getting a big contract, like a 5 or 10 year contract to stay on the Formula One grid. Because I think with China having such a huge electric car market and Formula One going in that direction, and we're not Formula E yet, but with the 2026 regulations, we're getting closer and closer to it. You know, we've got, 50% of the power for the Formula One cars coming from electrical power come 2026. So we're moving towards a more electric-looking Formula One, and therefore, I think we could end up with a Chinese Grand Prix that fits quite well with the ethos of what Formula One are trying to do. And also, you know, in the same way that Liberty Media have pushed for a massive American market, China is also a huge market for Formula One that hasn't really been tapped into in the way that you'd maybe expect over sort of the last couple of decades. I remember there was one Chinese Grand Prix where like the army got free tickets or something. So even though the grandstand looked like it was full, it was because it was just full of soldiers that got the ticket for free. So it's not, you know, packed and sold out sometimes, this Chinese Grand Prix. Although in the 5 years that we haven't been there, maybe we'll see that actually Formula One has grown a little bit. We've got Zhou Guanyu, who is a Chinese driver now as well, representing China for the first time. First Chinese driver, first home Grand Prix for him in 3 seasons in Formula One. So that'll be quite nice to see. But let's see what people are saying. Fantastic. Lance taking a strop. I know, Lance getting top of the leaderboard, while Fernando Alonso was down in 19th. I know Fernando Alonso was on the hard compound tyre in free practice 1. We've got to give you that. Although, for people that don't know, this is what free practice looked like. I'll just pop it up for you for the sake of it. Although Oscar Piastri also second quickest on a set of hard compound tyres. He did set that time on a soft compound, but we moved past it. But yeah, Lance Stroll, fastest of anyone, a 1:36.3. And considering, you know, the voice crack and the fact that he was really upset about the straight line speed of the Aston Martin in Japan, literally Shanghai is a test of straight line speed. It's the longest possible straight. After turn 13, that straight down to turn 14 is just ages long. Like, if you've ever driven it on the game, it does feel like you're just lost because it's so long. It's such a long part of the track. Hello, Smiley Brandon. How are you doing? I know it's COVID thing, but still, yeah, it's very true. It was COVID that stopped the Chinese Grand Prix from happening over and over and over again. China is always an exciting race. That's very true. It's always quite a good race. I feel like because it has that braking zone down towards turn 13, it allows for quite a lot of overtaking. I feel like DRS is going to be a huge factor this weekend. We're going to really start to see where the DRS comes to its fore. Oh my God, Jamie. Jamie, thank you so much, mate. Thanks for this community. I have a new job and turn my mental health around. Thank you, everyone, especially you, James. Give it, mate. You are so welcome. You don't have to do that. That is absolutely stunning from you, mate. Always here for you, and you're always here for us as well. Great things. Thank you so much. The versatile. You good? Just yeah. Thank you. Can't say anything more than that. You really don't have to. China is a 7 out of 10 in my opinion. Yeah, I can understand that. Max is probably going to run away with it. Just because I feel like, yeah, because of that advantage. Although the problem is that, or the problem that he's going to have is the DRS is going to be so strong here that if he can't get out of that DRS range of whatever car is behind him, like I'm assuming that he's starting from pole position, he can't get out of that DRS range. Could be a little bit of a back and forth. Maybe not like a massive back and forth. Like the Red Bull is still pretty good in a straight line. It's not the fastest in a straight line. And I think people forget that, like, you look at that straight down from turn 13 to turn 14 and you think, okay, you just set up the car for the lowest possible drag, right? It's similar to Monza, I guess. You just set up the car, lowest possible drag, and you get the most out of that straight. The problem is Monza doesn't have too many tricky corners. A few chicanes and a couple of high-speed corners, and that's about it. China also has like a first sector that is really tricky. And the second sector as well has quite a lot of really high-speed corners. So you can't just set up the car for out-and-out top speed, raw pace down the straights. It's one of those things that China does offer a little bit of a test for the teams in terms of setting up the car, especially when we haven't been here in these new look Formula One cars. Like, we haven't had a ground effect Formula One car on this track, and they've only got one free practice session because we're already going into a competitive session where after this, the cars will be in Parc Ferme. They can't make too many changes. You know, you're allowed to make those tiny little tweaks here and there between those sessions, but you can't make any drastic changes like you would between a free practice 1, a free practice 2, and a free practice 3 over the course of a normal Formula 1 weekend. Instead, we're jumping straight back into a sprint weekend. And there's been, a few drivers that have mentioned maybe not the best idea after not having been at this track for a very, very long time to go straight back into a sprint weekend. But that's the decision that Formula 1 have made. It's the challenge that they are now up against. It could get very, very tasty indeed. I mean, we're already looking at an Aston Martin and a McLaren front row. If this was qualifying, Verstappen and Perez behind, 2 Hasses in the points, Ocon, Albon, Ricciardo. Where have these cars come from? They're not supposed to be in the top 10. Bottas and Joe, Tsunoda. Here's the Ferraris. 13 and 14. I feel like Ferrari could have quite a tough weekend here, though. Just a little, like, if you've got Ferrari in your fantasy team, which I do because I couldn't find a way to make it work and get rid of them, I feel like this could be a tough weekend for Ferrari. They should be good on that straight that I've mentioned, but the tyre degradation around here is very front end heavy, and we haven't seen how Ferrari respond to that yet. Like a lot of the tracks that we've had previously, you look at Australia or Japan, they're kind of rear tyre degradation heavy, which Ferrari were just about able to deal with. And I know Ferrari have been the second fastest car this season, but I do feel like this is the next challenge for Ferrari. A front end heavy track, lots of degradation, quite a green track as well, because they have relayed areas in the time that we've been away from here. And it's just... Ooh, I've got a weird feeling about Ferrari this weekend. Sargent down there, Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Alonso on the hard compound tyre, so you can't really take too much away. And Gasly having possibly the worst season of his career so far as well. Gasly having an absolute shocker in the Alpine, which is not going well for me because I was predicting that Gasly would be the driver to kind of beat out Ocon in Alpine. And then if one of those two were to leave, I was expecting it to probably be Ocon. Maybe now it's Gasly. I don't know. It's going to be a weird sort of driver market for Alpine once again, and probably not of their own volition this time. I know that Alpine love to throw a driver market contentious decision in, but they could end up with a bit of a weird one. Also, yeah, someone mentioned before, the 2025 calendar is already out. Well worth having a look. It's quite similar to 2024. There's not a ridiculous amount of changes. There's still a few Saturday races in there, which I didn't mind, actually. The kind of couple of Saturday races at the beginning of the season. Maybe that's because I'm a content creator, though, and having it on a Saturday and not having to go straight in to a Sunday. Oh, sorry, having the race on the Saturday means I have the Sunday to make content about it. Whereas, obviously, having the race on a Sunday and then I have work on Monday, so it does kind of ruin that a little bit. But I personally prefer the Saturday races, which is where the sprint race tomorrow is going to come in quite handy. Playing the track today, and it was really tricky. It is really tricky. Very, very difficult. Like, it's such a weird one to get the balance right more than anything else. My predictions: Verstappen first, Sainz second, Perez third. Maybe Leclerc or Norris potentially. Yeah, I feel like Leclerc's in the mix there, isn't he? It's going to be the Red Bulls, the Ferraris you would expect, considering where everyone has been so far this season. But there we are. Always nice to celebrate achievement. That's very true, mate. And I massively appreciate it. And I'm really, really proud that you've managed to sort out, get yourself a job. It's always that weird. Like, I remember when I was like between jobs. It's such a weird, strange feeling. And especially when you want to leave one job and get another one. It is an awful kind of limbo that you find yourself in. We've all been there. It is horrible. But no, we're really well done, mate. I feel like Zhou Guanyu should get a pole for the sprint. Logan Sargent P2, since they won't drive next year. Bit of a glory sprint for them. Especially for Zhou. Maybe not for Sargent. Like, I'm not too worried about that. But for Zhou Guanyu, the fact that he's had to wait so long, and the fact that he's been able to hold on to that seat. Like, a lot of people, when Zhou Guanyu got that seat, were like, why on earth has he got that? He doesn't deserve it. Like, there's so many better options. But he's kind of proved himself a little bit. He's proved that he's not the best Formula One driver on the grid, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not seeing Zhou Guanyu taking that next step and becoming a championship contender or even a driver at a top team. Like, I don't think a Red Bull, a Mercedes, a Ferrari, a McLaren, an Aston Martin, maybe, an Aston Martin would ever really take that push on Zhou Guanyu and take the risk of bringing him into a top team. But I do think he's good enough for a rear-end car. Like, Haas are looking much, much better. I was thinking if he did leave Stake, he might find himself kind of slotting into a Haas seat. The problem is Ollie Behrman is now coming through. You've also got Nico Hülkenberg having a really good season so far. Kevin Magnussen is just kind of Mr. Haas. I don't think they ever really want to get rid of him. And therefore, Joe kind of also falls by the wayside a little bit there. So, I don't know. I feel like Zhou Guanyu can keep his seat on the Formula One grid. He's got the quality to. Whether or not one of the teams actually wants him is a completely different question, in my opinion. Did it already start? No. Sorry, this is sprint qualify. This is sprint qualify. This is free practice one. People were asking a couple of questions about why Lance Stroll was like fastest in free practice one, for instance, and things like that. So I thought I'd pop that up there. Even Williams kicked Logan out of the seat mid-weekend. That's very true. Yeah, Logan Sargent is definitely out of it. Well, I made a video on Williams actually that was supposed to come out on Tuesday. Like, it was supposed to come out. Oh, got rid of the times. Getting set up for the next session. It was good. It's supposed to come out Tuesday or Wednesday. But then I got a brand new PC. Thank you guys so much. This is thanks to all of you. I can't show you it because it's just off screen here. But brand new PC, which is something that I definitely would not have been able to afford had you guys not all helped out the channel and been here watching these kind of things like you are right now. But yeah, brand new PC, and it took a little while to get this PC sorted. A little bit of a story time. I decided to try and build it. So I bought like the case and all the separate entities. First time I've ever built a PC on my own. I've helped friends out with building their PCs in the past, but kind of put together a little bit of a spec for myself and was like, right, I'm going to try and do this. Put it all together. Took me 6 hours because I don't know what I'm doing. I was following like lots of tutorials and things like that. And ended up having to like put it all together twice because I thought I'd put it all together and then it wasn't working. Then I was like, what on earth's going on? So then I took it all apart again to like double check everything and make sure that I wasn't just absolutely a moron and put something in the wrong place. Built it all again. And then I've just like not got anything once again. So I put it all together, take me 6 hours. Taking it all apart, probably take me another couple of hours. Put it all back together again, take me another like 5-6 hours, right? So I'm a couple of days deep at this point. Very, very deep. And then when I come into it, still doesn't work. Eventually I give up. I go to this PC store over the other side of Norwich. So I have to carry my brand new PC like a mile or so into Norwich because I couldn't park there. Norwich is horrible for parking. Like this PC place just in the middle of nowhere. Carry it all the way over. And I carry all the pieces kind of a little bit separately. I leave like the hefty things outside of the case. So like the power supply and things like that, I kind of leave outside of the case and take everything else in. Give it to these guys. Power supply doesn't work, right? So the power supply that I've ordered, come out of the box, dead on arrival, which is a term that I found out is what you use for electronics, because that's what they just kept saying to me. They were like, sorry lad, this power supply dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. And I was like, well, I didn't know it was dead on arrival. If I'd have known it was dead on arrival, I'd have got a new one. But anyway, power supply didn't work. Had to then go into their shop. So they've got like a repair bit and a shop bit. Go into their shop, buy a new power supply. Power supply, didn't know how to really put this new power supply in because I didn't have the tutorial there. Kind of showed me up a little bit because they were like, oh, you can just put the power supply in here if you want. And I was like, how about you do it? How about you do that? So got a new power supply, all wired up, finally working. But yeah, that's why there's been a little bit of delay on content over the last week because I was expecting to maybe put this PC together and have it working in a day or two. It took like 4 days for it to get to a point where it was actually working. And then it took me another day to move everything across and get all my files from my old PC. And I forgot the ordeal because basically I've had that old PC that the entire channel has been built upon, now on the floor over there, for 10 years, maybe 8 years, 8 to 10 years, I reckon I've had that PC. So it's a relic, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty good. And it's gone now. The beginning of the channel, we start afresh. Pre-qualifying F1 TV show. I'm not watching it. I could. Can you write your name on my PC? I did think about that, you know. If ever I host like a live event, which I know is a long way off happening, but if ever I host like a live event, I feel like I could do that, you know. So with you guys that have been consistent, in the big boys in the chat, I feel like I could like bring this side panel and like one of those silver Sharpies or something. Saw my first video, I've improved so much. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like it's a learning curve though, you know what I mean? Like I was thinking about this morning. I got up and I put the Williams video live just because I wanted to get it out. It was supposed to be out days ago, but I had all the recording done, didn't have the edit completed, so then had to move and transfer all the files over so that I could finish the edit. And I thought about that, and I like looked at the views this morning, and I was like, I think it was on like 4,000 views or something close. And I was like, it was a year or so ago that I struggled to get 1,000 views on a video after it had been out for a week. Like that was the limit. Like, it hasn't been that long to where 4,000 views I would have absolutely bitten someone's hand off to have. So like that is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, it's just been amazing. It's been incredible. And as I said, completely life-changing in the fact that I've been able to buy a new PC and get this set up like it is and buy various bits and pieces for the background and have that interaction with you guys through this, which I would have never been able to do had I not done this. So, an absolutely incredible. One more thing, can we please change the goofy YouTube Shorts music? No, I love that. It's Ludwig. It's Ludwig. It's his Animal Crossing Wii Star music, and I'm a big Ludwig fan, so it's a little bit of a tip of the cap, I guess, in that way. Following since I mained FIFA and Elden Ring on Twitch. Yeah, that was a bit of a weird. I just wanted to play Elden Ring, I think, and I think I wanted to just justify the time. I ended up sinking like 80 hours into Elden Ring, and I was like, how can I justify this? What about if I do that? What about getting a Stream Deck? I have a Stream Deck. It's just not plugged in. Because the reason it's not plugged in is because I ran out of USB ports on the old PC. So that was another thing. Like between filming and the streams, I would have to completely change up what was plugged in because I needed different things for whether I was recording a video or streaming. So I will eventually have a Stream Deck fully plugged in, and I won't have to unplug it and plug it back in and keep swapping between them over the course of it. Yeah, I do have a Stream Deck, but that was another thing that I had but couldn't use to its full effect because I had to keep plugging it in, unplugging it, plugging it in, unplugging it every time that I was doing anything effectively. On a cheap Chinese robotic arm, you can control to hand you stuff. What? Why? I have two hands. Do I need a third robotic hand? Max, that is out there. Seriously, how do I only have 71k? Mate, there was like a good year and a half period where 10k was like a ridiculous goal that was out there and couldn't fathom how I would even get to 10k. Now we're looking at like 10 times that. We're looking at a silver play button, which I've left a little space for. Maybe I should just put like a bit of paper there, like to be silver play button. To force me to change my profile picture. That's true. It was the profile picture. That's what it was. It was the profile picture change. The versatile was right the whole time. For those of you that don't know, I used to have a profile picture where it was still the channel colors. That was the thing. It was still the light blue, but it was light blue in that I was wearing a New York FC kit because I went to go and see NYCFC live. David Villa scored a hat trick. Beautiful game. But I went to go and see them live, and therefore USB-C hub. I could have done, but again, so the Stream Deck needs USB 3.0, and I only had like however many of those ports, and I don't want to like overload it, you know what I mean? So I had an extension for it, but that extension only had 4 ports on it, I want to say, and then even then it was 2 little. Basically, the old PC that I had is an absolute relic of its time. Like it just how it survived for 8 to 10 years, I have no idea. Hello, mate. Oh, Kairu edits. We're going to go for Kairu. Hello, mate. $140p and you weren't even smiling? That's very true. It was just a nice picture of me, all right? It was a picture that I had. And the reason it was 140p is because it was just like a screenshot from somewhere. But it was, again, when I was just first setting up the channel. Good to be back. Good to have you back, mate. Am I going to stream sprint qualifying or react to it without seeing that? You'll see. A little bit kind of a mix. I mean, I'm obviously not allowed to play the Sky Sports footage. That's very illegal. I wish I could, but I don't have the hundreds of millions of pounds that Sky Sports pay the Formula One broadcasters for their broadcast rights. So if you could send that my way, I'll be more than happy to invest it and become the sole place that you're allowed to watch Formula One in the UK. Imagine that. Imagine if this was the only place in the entire UK where you could watch Formula One. That's the kind of thing that I would have. That's the kind of money that I would need if I was allowed to show the Formula One. But I'm not. Buying the Senna Lego set, I am. It's on the like Amazon wish list. But again, like 100 quid for a Lego set is not something that is in my budget for every single month of my life. It's probably going to be like a birthday present, something along those lines. Data or cam views? Indeed, I will. So we'll get there in a second. But there's nothing as of yet. I mean, I can show you what it's gonna look like, and then that this section gets filled in with stuff for people that haven't been here before. I feel like because of how this season has worked, and because all of the races have been slightly different times, we get a very different audience for each of the Grand Prix, and I quite like it. Like, there's the stalwarts, there's the guys that get up at like 12:30 a.m. and watch, like when we were watching the Japanese Grand Prix and we were all up at like 5 a.m. There's the stalwarts, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like we get a little bit of a mix, a bit of a nice mix. It's quite nice. Similar track in the background, indeed, but it has got this the grandstand section, so it's Singapore, but it's slightly out of date until they put this section back in. Lance Stroll can be Max Verstappen. I feel like it was a little bit of a one-off. Free practice is, well, as it says on the tin, free practice, not the most competitive session, and therefore maybe we'll see slightly different lineup to what we saw in free practice in the actual qualifying session. Amazon wish list. Let me know when your birthday. Like, I thought about, like, you know those streamers that usually like models of a certain kind. They are on a certain app, but there's some Twitch streamers that do that, and like in their description they have like a link to like an Amazon list, and people just buy them stuff. Ridiculous, right? Imagine just being like, I like your stream, I'm just gonna buy you a thing. That seems crazy. But there we go. Did Danny Rick outperform Yuki? In free practice, he did slightly. I can pop up the listings. Again, the lap times are gone because I'm getting it all set up for the sprint qualifying that we've got going on. Thank you to Multiviewer, by the way, who sorts us out with all of this data. They're up here on the cap. Multiviewer, well worth a download. Completely free. If you've got Formula 1 TV, which is like £20 a year, and well worth it because you get to see all of the old Grand Prix. Like, everything is archived on Formula 1 TV. It's probably the best value streaming service that you can get, in my opinion, because it's £20 a year, which I know is a service, like, and you do have to pay for it every year, but it also gives you so much access to everything Formula 1. So I think it's well worth it. Wait, that's for yeah. Oh, dear. Owen, I'm broke. I've been there, mate. I've been there. Don't you worry. New to Formula 1 channel is extremely helpful. Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate that. Right, let's get into it then. Sprint qualifying is getting underway. Let's put the track map on there for you. No radio transcriptions as of yet. I'll see if I can fix that momentarily. That might be a me thing. That might be a multi-viewer thing. There has been quite a lot of issues with radio transcriptions, in that a lot of the data that is usually used for that kind of thing hasn't actually been available, because China is just weird, and obviously they don't allow a lot of internet access to a lot of Western things. A lot of the teams have to use VPNs over the course of this weekend just to even access the things that they use for a general Grand Prix weekend, which is pretty funny to me, but that's where it is right now. In fact, should we put something else underneath if we don't get the radio transcriptions, which I'm not sure we will do? Let's put the sector timings underneath. Oh, I do like the panda helmet of there we go. Let's put the sector timings underneath. Let's do that. Ooh. Ooh. There you go. Let's do that instead. I'm not sure we'll get the AI radio transcriptions this weekend, but there we are. Ooh, little bit of a chaos in the pit lane. Obviously, even though it is a sprint qualifying session, the standard rules apply. We're looking for those bottom 5 cars to drop out of sprint qualifying 1. And we'll head into sprint qualifying 2 and sprint qualifying 3 after that. Piastri on the radio. Oh, light drops of rain. I think someone mentioned it in the chat. There's a 60% chance that this is going to be a wet sprint qualifying session. And therefore, it would make sense that the cars are kind of rushing out onto the track. There's a lot of cars out on the circuit right now. A few cars still gambling and not coming out of the pits as of yet. Zhou Guanyu and his home Grand Prix weekend. Can he get out of qualifying 1? Maybe pick up a point. I feel like a point is the only thing that he can really do to prove himself this weekend and celebrate with the fans. A little bit like Yuki Tsunoda last time out, right? A points finish at your home Grand Prix is the best that you can really hope for when you're in one of those back-of-the-pack cars. And unfortunately, the stake is most certainly a back-of-the-pack car. Haven't actually heard anything about the stake pit stops and whether or not they've been able to fix the issue that they were having with the rotation inside the tire. Basically, they had a thread problem where when they were putting the wheel bearing actually onto the car, the thread wouldn't interlock properly. And that was an issue that obviously was costing them massively. Ooh, Russell on the radio saying that it's spitting more. We've got Albon and Sargent setting some lap times. Bottas and Zhou as well. Zhou goes quickest, but then Bottas takes pole position from him, or at least provisional pole position, with 7 minutes or so left to go in this session. Any big predictions for the weekend? No, it's a bit of a weird one because we haven't been here for so long and we haven't seen these style of cars around here. Difficult to tell. Feels like it should be a Williams track, right? Because of the long straight, but I feel like they'll lose too much time in the first and second sectors to actually be super competitive in that sense. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz coming across the line. Sainz first, actually. Sainz in 4th. Charles Leclerc goes quickest of anybody. Next up is Oscar Piastri. He goes 2nd fastest. Pretty decent indeed. And Piastri's got to get out of the way of the Haas behind him, starting their flying lap. Thank you, Angel, for subscribing to the channel. Lando Norris then. Fastest in the middle sector was Lando. Oh, goes 2nd fastest, just behind Charles Leclerc. It's getting very close indeed. And we're seeing Fernando Alonso was quickest in the first sector of anybody. We know that this Aston Martin might have a little bit more pace than expected, considering Lance Stroll was fastest in free practice. But can Fernando Alonso turn it on in qualifying? Yes, he can. Goes quickest. The Spaniard takes provisional pole in this sprint qualifying session. Still Lance Stroll to come across the line and goes 4th fastest. So we're waiting on Verstappen and Perez. Here goes Verstappen. Oh, Verstappen goes quickest by a chunk. Verstappen goes quickest by 0.4 of a second. Take a bow, Max Verstappen. He takes provisional pole position. Daniel Ricciardo comes across the line in 8th fastest. Sergio Perez, finds 0.3 on his teammate. Hello. Has Sergio Perez turned up in this 2024 season? I think he has, you know. 3.5 tenths from Sergio Perez there. Kevin Magnussen also gets himself out of the bottom 5, drops George Russell into 17th place, and Nico Hülkenberg slots into 6th place as well. So with 4.5 minutes left to go in this one, it is the Red Bulls at the top, Fernando Alonso behind. Have we teleported back to the beginning of the 2023 season? Goodness me. Charles Leclerc in 4th place, Lando Norris 5th. Oh, Logan Sargent on the radio. Gasly impeded me. Let's have a little look at this onboard then. Logan Sargent coming around to the straight. Not. I mean, he's kind of in the way, but no, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Oh, Ocon nearly losing it on the final corner as well. That does not look healthy. So Albon, Russell, Ocon, Sargent, and Tsunoda. Not what I was expecting to see, but Tsunoda down there in 20th place. Carlos Sainz is the man on the bubble right now. He needs to improve and is going for another fast lap, is the Spaniard. Albon and Russell in the pits. Sargent also in the pits. Ocon and Tsunoda, are they on out laps or are they on in laps? No, Tsunoda is out on track. Could be going for a fast lap as well by the looks of things. Albon coming back out. Sargent straight out as well. Carlos Sainz just coming down to turn 14. That incredibly long straight here in Shanghai. And then through the final couple of corners. Rounds the final corners. Carlos Sainz comes across the line and goes for fastest. Pretty decent. Charles Leclerc just in front in 3rd. Oh, was Fernando Alonso's time deleted? No. It was just both Ferraris going quicker. Okay. I thought it was deleted for some reason. I lost it, but no, it is in there. It's there in 5th place. Oh, Lando Norris with a lock-up down towards turn 14. Ooh. Oh, but gets it across the line. 2nd fastest of anybody. Take a bow, Lando. Lovely stuff. Only 2 minutes left. I know, it's ridiculous. It's because the sprint qualifyings are shorter. Quite a considerable chunk shorter as well. Ooh. Carlos Sainz actually, yeah, hindered a little bit by a Haas. I don't know which Haas it was. But going through turn 7, I want to say. Checks track map. Yeah, turn 7. Carlos Sainz losing out a little bit. Although still safe at this moment in time. It's Albon, Russell, Ocon, Sargent, and Tsunoda. The drivers that do really need to improve. I do really like Alex Albon's Panda helmet, you know. I don't know what it is about it. It's just got something about it, this Panda helmet. I'm sold. Alex Albon. Ooh, not the most graceful first sector from Alex Albon at this point, but a little bit better at least. Still a 10th or so behind Pierre Gasly's time, though. Gasly now the driver on the bubble. Zhou Guanyu in 14th as well. Will probably want to improve there because you've got the likes of George Russell behind in 17th place. George Russell still on an outlap as well, so needs to get across the line and does with 30 seconds left to go. So this is it for George Russell. Esteban Ocon improves but stays in the bottom 5. So that's going to be Esteban Ocon out in sprint qualifying 1 in the Alpine. Albon coming around, going down that long back straight, DRS wide open on the Williams car. Was such a straight line speed merchant last year, the Williams car. They have balanced it at least a little bit better, but it's lost that little bit of edge, you would say, in the straight line speed. But needed to do that so that it was actually competitive at some of the other tracks throughout the year. Albon coming across the line, not looking quick at all. And yeah, it doesn't improve. Goes 17th fastest, Alex Albon, and is also going to be out of it. So that's Ocon and Albon. Logan Sargent as well, looking like he's pretty much done and dusted. Yeah, he is. George Russell and Tsunoda then, keep an eye out. Tsunoda is now coming across the line. Not quick enough. Tsunoda, 18th fastest. George Russell then, the only man that can save himself in this. George Russell, a little bit of a toe down the back straight using the Ferrari there. Coming around the final corner in front of Charles Leclerc. And let's go, George Russell across the line. Ooh, and does. Sends Pierre Gasly down to 16th place. So it is Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Tsunoda, and Sargent, the 5 drivers that we lose out in sprint qualifying 1. Pretty close, actually. Zhou Guanyu just about gets himself across the line. Oh, wait, is Esteban Ocon on a flying lap? I assumed Esteban Ocon was out. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not on a flying lap. Oh, the commentators. That's why. The commentator on Sky Sports is lost. He thought, I think he thought that Ocon was on a flying lap. But no. Zhou Guanyu sneaks through at his home Grand Prix then. Ricciardo just about as well in 14th place. There you go. Oh. Turn 5. There is a fire. There is a fire at turn 5. Wow. Just the grass basically is so dry, and the sparks from the Formula 1 cars have actually set the grass on fire. Is that what they're saying? How on earth? Anyway, that is Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Tsunoda, and Sargent. Luckily, the fire has come at the end of the session, so they can jump out and make sure that that is sorted. I'm just very quickly going to make a quick change to some of the behind the scenes. All set. Bruh, again what? Again with the fire. Oh, yeah. I was like, again what? What have I done? I don't know. You mean the fire has happened again? And yeah, it's what a weird thing to just happen lots. You'd think that maybe they need to just put some tarmac or something down there, or like, I don't know, water the grass. What can they do? They need to do something, because we've got a fire in every session so far. I don't imagine we want that to happen during like a race. That would be pretty bad if there was a literal fire on the track. Q1, 2, Q3, yes. So still Q1, Q2, Q3 in the same way. They're just shorter sessions. So that was only 12 minutes, that first sprint qualifying. Fire in practice. Has to be Mercedes. Yeah, no. Mercedes nowhere, right? 12th and 13th. That won't be good enough to get them through to Q3. We're looking now at Bottas, Hamilton, Russell, Ricciardo, and Zhou, the drivers that need to improve. So still looking for that bottom 5 come sprint qualifying 2, which is going to be soon as, well, once the fire is dealt with. We'll be back onto it pretty much straight away. What is this guy talking about? The fire. I'm talking about the fire. Sprint qualifying 1 ending up in flames. It's just some grass that's on fire, but entertaining nonetheless. Danny Rick over half a second faster than Yuki. Yeah, I need to see Yuki's onboard, I think, because seems very, very out there. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo has got the brand new chassis. So that seems a bit weird, doesn't it? But basically, Daniel Ricciardo was struggling so much with the chassis that he's had for the opening 4 Grand Prix. that they decided to give the upgraded chassis, instead of giving it to the driver that, is getting points and consistently driving well, they decided to give it straight to Daniel Ricciardo. Seems a little bit odd to me, but Daniel Ricciardo, brand new chassis for him in the RB. And that's why maybe he's looking a little bit better, looking a little bit swifter with a brand new chassis underneath him. Let's go back to that. Boom. There you go. Maybe the file will be the most interesting part of the race. we place bets. Which corner will the fire be? I think basically it's been at turn 5 because eventually what's happening is the cars are bottoming out. So it's a really high speed corner and you're coming into it off of like a little bit of a straight, but a little bit of a straight, really high speed corner, cars coming into it, trying to carry as much speed as possible. And with these ground effect cars, the cars just sort of suck down towards the ground. And the plank underneath is allowed to basically have a bit of skid. So it skids along the surface. And that's where you get the sparks underneath. So the cars are sparking. And there's so much sparks from the cars that eventually they're just heating up the grass enough to cause it to actually catch fire. Which is ridiculous, isn't it? How's life? Pretty good, mate. Can't complain. Ooh, weather alert. Rain in 14 minutes. So that would be, well, especially with the delay that we've now got as fire marshals are trying to put out the grass. Not something I thought I was going to say. But with that happening, we definitely could see a little bit of rain. If it's going to happen in 14 minutes' time. It was threatening to rain. We had Oscar Piastri on the radio, Russell on the radio, saying there was a little damp spit coming from the sky, but didn't actually come to fruition in the end there. Softs in the rain for SQ3. That would be great. Yeah, it'd be good entertainment. Soft compound tires are all right in the rain, obviously depending on how much it is. We've seen that go wrong for teams in the past. They should be okay. Max or Lewis? Today, Max. Have you seen where Mercedes are? Not the one at this moment in time. Sparks. I think the sparks just kind of, go backwards and sort of go. If you ever see the sparks on a Formula 1 car, they sort of dart around. So yeah, it's a bit weird that, as you say, you'd imagine they'd go to the outside of the track. It's on the inside. Not sure. 4 minutes for SQ2. Not quite that short. I know it's a shorter session, but it's not 4 minutes short. From Amsterdam. See grass being lit up on the usual. Yeah. I've been to Amsterdam. I went to the Van Gogh Museum. That was very nice. There was like a Banksy thing when I was there. It was great. I loved Amsterdam. Well worth a trip if you haven't been. Beautiful city. I have to cycle everywhere though. I did find that a bit strange. Just the sheer amount of bikes was a bit crazy. Yeah, Sonoda's lap. I haven't seen the onboard as of yet, but it just seemed a little bit off. Just didn't seem very Sonoda, if that makes sense. Not quite there. And I mean, you're like looking at sector times. In fact, I can show you the full sector times while we're here. Yuki Tsunoda was 16 fastest in the first sector, 17 fastest in the second sector, 19 fastest in the final sector. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at. Oh my God, there's absolute chaos. The McLarens at the front of this queue in the pit lane, but every single car is pretty much out in the pit lane and trying to get their slot. So everyone is pretty worried about this rain coming in fairly soon and wants to get out on track as soon as possible. Of course, medium compound tyres once again for SQ2. Soft compound tyres only used for the final SQ3 session. But the cars are all there, ready to go, but no green light. It's the McLarens at the front of this queue. There's some Ferraris getting into it, a Stake and a Haas to the right-hand side of the picture trying to get in. In fact, both Stakes coming out of the garage and trying to fight for their position. A lovely orderly queue with a Haas and a couple of stakes also trying to just nudge their way in the pit lane. But everyone's going to have to exit so slowly as well, because remember, they're not allowed to go slow through the final sector anymore. You're not allowed to use that tactic to get yourself some space. Why the stake team working on the car, even though it's outside of the garage? That's mental. Ooh, Charles Leclerc being told the rain might come just at the end of his timed lap. So he is going to be on a real rush if that is the case. Sergio Perez still in the garage. The Red Bull's yet to blink. Everyone waiting. Fernando Alonso joins the queue. In behind the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. I think that is just in front. Someone's going to bin it. Yeah, if it starts raining, that's generally what happens. Somebody has a little moment along the track. At least with the rain, unlikely to have another fire. Swings in roundabouts. Always a silver lining. Traffic jam looks hilarious. I think it's just every single team, they just want to get out on track as soon as they possibly can because they know there's the threat of rain. And if rain comes down while you're on your flying lap, especially if it's like heavy rain, might as well just give up. And especially if people have already done a dry lap in front of you, that's it. Done and dusted. The McLarens, though, front of the queue. We've got Kevin Magnussen actually third in line. Very good. Show the track map. I will do once the session is greenlit, but at the moment in time, we're just... Unfortunately, the map would just show all the cars in the pits, which is where they will be anyway. Green light. What? Hello? And Lando Norris just stood there for like 10 seconds. The McLarens doing a little bit of delaying. Wow, okay. That's a little bit cheeky from the McLarens, if I do say so myself. Fernando Alonso not letting Nico Hülkenberg into the pack. Valtteri Bottas also trying to get alongside Daniel Ricciardo, and Daniel Ricciardo trying not to let him through too. It is absolute bedlam at the end of the pit lane. Everyone trying to cut the queue, and nobody really letting that happen. Oh, sorry, it's Zhou Guanyu alongside Daniel Ricciardo. Oh my goodness me, Daniel Ricciardo getting so close to the back of Charles Leclerc. Need to give yourself a little bit of space. They're still side by side, Zhou Guanyu and Daniel Ricciardo, and Zhou eventually bullies his way in front of Daniel Ricciardo as they come out of the pits. And all the while, Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, just sitting, having a little sit. There we go. Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen just waiting, watching, looking at everyone else, just having a little fight in the pit lane, and they come out just a little bit later than everybody else. Chilling in the pits. Here we go then. 8 minutes on the clock. Lando Norris. Could be this lap is the one that matters. So that is a go for it, Lando Norris, please, as we see Sergio Perez actually only just coming out of the pits as Lando Norris starts his flying lap. Let's see what Lando has got in the tank then. It's going to be Oscar Piastri just behind. Kevin Magnussen is going to be third across the line as well. Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Hülkenberg, Leclerc, Zhou, Ricciardo and Bottas still side by side with one another. Ricciardo just can't get out of the wake of the stakes. Russell and Hamilton behind. Verstappen and Perez is going to be the last man across the line. Especially if there's some rain coming, it's Sergio Perez that is the man under most threat. Although it should come towards the end of this session, so everybody should get a flying lap in with some dry conditions. Max Verstappen trying to get out of the way of Lando Norris, but not making it easy. Lando Norris coming around turn 12 into turn 13. Then the McLaren wiggling around. Sparks fly from the back of the papaya car. Lando Norris, then DRS wide open as they go down this really long straight down towards turn 14. Lando Norris got this a little bit wrong in SQ1. Better in SQ2. Judges it. Hit the apex. Lovely from Lando Norris through there. Little bit of a wiggle on the exit. Let's see then, Lando Norris is going to come across the line first and set the standard at a 1:36.0. Oscar Piastri is next then. Max Verstappen starts his flying lap. Sergio Perez also following Oscar Piastri. And Piastri goes quicker than his teammate by a couple of tenths of a second. Nico Hülkenberg next. Oh, sorry, Kevin Magnussen next. Third fastest from Magnussen. Stroll and Sainz coming along as well. Alonso just behind for the Aston Martin pair. Lance Stroll goes slower than the Haas. Fourth fastest for Lance Stroll. Carlos Sainz, third fastest in the Ferrari. Fernando Alonso coming around the final corner. It's then Nico Hülkenberg behind. Charles Leclerc just coming around turn 14 and looking not too bad, Charles Leclerc, at this moment in time. Hülkenberg across the line goes slower than his teammate, but quicker than Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll still at the back of the pack. Fernando Alonso fourth fastest. Charles Leclerc across the line, and there it was. Was looking quick from Charles Leclerc. Goes quickest. Zhou Guanyu, his home Grand Prix, goes sixth fastest of anybody. Daniel Ricciardo, who's in a bit of a steak sandwich. And Daniel Ricciardo, ninth fastest. Bottas goes fifth in the steak. The Mercedes then across the line. Russell goes 8th fastest, drops Daniel Ricciardo and Lance Stroll into the elimination zone. Hamilton across the line, 7th fastest. And you'd imagine the two Red Bulls are going to go quicker. So Russell and Magnussen, the two drivers under threat, as Max Verstappen is going to finish his first flying lap of this SQ2 session. And of course, goes quickest by a tenth of a second. Sergio Perez then, the final man across the line. And it is indeed third fastest from Sergio Perez. So it is George Russell, Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, Daniel Ricciardo, and Lance Stroll, the drivers that need to improve. But with the threat of rain on the horizon, are they going to have time? Valtteri Bottas on the radio. Rain expected in 3 minutes, says the stake team to Valtteri Bottas. So they're going to have to go. Ooh, it's going to be close, isn't it? Well, the weather alert, rain in 1 minute. So 3 minutes, 1 minute. What is it going to be? Ricciardo coming into the pits. Kevin Magnussen into pit lane. He's going to have to get in new tyres onto that Haas car and back out again fairly swiftly, you'd imagine. Lance Stroll coming into the pits as well. Oh, starting to rain. Yep. Or you can even see patches of rain starting to come down. Could be it for those 5 drivers. They might not get another opportunity. In fact, I don't think they'll get another opportunity. Has George Russell gone for another flying lap? No, he's just a little bit later in the pack, wasn't he? So hasn't come into the pits as of yet. Magnussen, Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, and Stroll all into the pits. Zhou Guanyu sneaks through once again. He was in 15th place in SQ1. Now he's in 10th place in SQ2. Zhou Guanyu is properly just sneaking his way into a top 10 performance. It's a shame that obviously in the sprint you have to come in the top 8. So if he wants to pick up points during the sprint race tomorrow, you're going to have to finish in 8th place or higher. And when 10th place or higher has been a real challenge so far this season, 8th place or higher is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, and George Russell went for it. And he's 7/10 off the pace in the first sector. It's done, isn't it? That is it. George Russell is going to be the big casualty. Drops out in sprint qualifying 2. So George Russell, Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, Daniel Ricciardo, and Lance Stroll are going to join Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Tsunoda, and Sargent out of qualifying. And the rain did eventually come. It was threatening to come. That fire has cost us a second run in SQ2. And it'd be interesting to see. Oh, that is a lot of rain. That is a lot of rain. Now that we're seeing the onboard from George Russell, his visor absolutely covered in rain. Carlos Sainz raining quite heavy. It has indeed. The rain has arrived. And that's going to be it, isn't it? Even though we've got a minute and a half left on the clock, everyone is just coming in at this point. Both stake cars come into the pits. And the celebrations for Zhou Guanyu. The applause for the Chinese driver as he makes it through to SQ3 in his state car. Love to see it from the Chinese fans. A big roar for Zhou Guanyu as they see everybody coming back into the pits with a minute on the clock. And his stake Sauber into the top 10. Valtteri Bottas there as well, by the way. Both stake cars up in the top 10. Displacing kind of some of the big boys in the pack there. Lance Stroll, the other big casualty, I guess you could say, from the top 5 teams. Although becoming a little bit of a pattern, to be honest, that Lance Stroll is the casualty from the top 5 teams. 15th fastest for Lance Stroll in all of that. Not worth talking about at all, really. Daniel Ricciardo, quicker than his teammate in 14th place. A lot of positives to take from Daniel Ricciardo there. The brand new chassis underneath Daniel Ricciardo. An updated chassis as well. Not just a new one, but an updated chassis. What Williams would give to have an updated chassis, let alone a spare one, would be absolutely insane. Hulkenberg and Magnussen, a little bit off the pace, considering where they usually have been this season, but kind of edging towards that top 10 is where Haas usually have sat. Nico Hulkenberg in particular, a couple of points finishes so far this year. We'll be looking to improve on that come race day. And George Russell in 11th. Of course, we do have another qualifying session to come tomorrow, but it's given us a little bit of an idea. That qualifying session comes after the sprint race. So for those of you not subscribed, well worth subscribing right now. Hit the button down there because we are going to be live for both sessions tomorrow. We've got a sprint race and then also the Grand Prix qualifying before also being live for the qualifying itself on Sunday. So I'm going to cover all 4 competitive sessions over the course of this weekend. So hit the like button if you are new here. Subscribe to the channel as well. And we haven't really got... So usually I set a little bit of a like target, but obviously we haven't had a sprint qualifying so far this season. So there's nothing to beat. So you guys are setting the standard on the sprint qualifying record number of likes to beat. So hit the link. Hit the like button down below, and you'll see if you can set the standard for what we need to aim for in sprint qualifiers for the rest of the year. That'd be much appreciated. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, all that good stuff. China's using rain tech. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if China they were like, right, we need a really adventurous and really good Grand Prix weekend. Let's just make it rain. Let's somehow force it to rain. How do I see the onboard? You can look at drivers' onboards by looking at the... And also, yeah, they showed it on the TV broadcast. But you can use multi-viewer for all of this data and more. You can watch the onboards of any driver you like on multi-viewer as well. Next thing you know, it's snowing in China. Didn't they have snow? So this is a bit... Andrea Kimi Antonelli had his first test with Mercedes. He drove the 2021 Mercedes car in Austria earlier on this week. And I think they had snow on the first day of testing for Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Which is a bit of an awkward thing to deal with in your first ever outing in the 2021 Mercedes Formula 1 car, especially considering he's supposed to be using those tests to kind of prove that he's ready for a Formula 1 seat. It does feel like Yeah. Bit of an interesting one for Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Worth keeping an eye on him. Obviously, linked heavily with that seat replacing Lewis Hamilton. Well, I'm not sure yet. Not sure if I'm convinced that that's a good idea or a bad idea as of yet. We did a little video on why I think Sebastian Vettel might be a nice stopgap, which people did not understand. If you've watched that Sebastian Vettel video and you actually listen to it, you'll notice that I'm saying Sebastian Vettel is a great choice for Mercedes if. Whereas people just thought I was saying Sebastian Vettel deserves that Mercedes seat. Definitely not the case, but it's by the by. Some people don't understand. Valtteri Bottas fourth in low-speed corners. Yeah, exactly. Through that second sector, Valtteri Bottas absolutely flying. Fernando Alonso also quickest through the first sector is interesting. Dropping off a cliff in the third sector, though. That's that straight line speed that we talk about with the Aston Martin just not being there. Fernando Alonso quickest in the first sector and then absolutely nowhere to be seen. Where is he? 14th fastest through the third sector when his best third sector came to be. So he was going to drive the 2022 car. Not yet. So Kimi Antonelli driving the 2022 car the next testing session that he is doing. They wanted him to, in Mercedes words, they wanted him to drive a good Formula One car first. So that just about tells you how much faith they have in their 2022 and 2023 cars. Not really theirs. Here we go then. We are on the way for SQ3. It will start at 16:11. And intermediate tyres look like the call of the day. 10 drivers getting set up. And actually, the Red Bulls coming out into the pit. So people are trying to just get out on track first of anybody. Still got a minute or two until the drivers are unleashed from the pit lane. There's George Russell hopping out of his Mercedes car. Lewis Hamilton in his, though. One Mercedes at least through. That's interesting, Max. Yeah. Feel like we're going to see Russell and Hamilton taking turns. Yeah, as who goes out in Q2. Does feel like Mercedes just aren't quite there, doesn't it? So annoying considering what we expect, I guess, from Mercedes. I suppose it's better than them just continuing to win again and again and again, but they should have been the closest competitor to Red Bull. Look at 2021. 2021 was such a good Formula One season. They were so close to one another. And then Red Bull just took that big step forwards in 2022, and Mercedes went for a bit of a gamble, and it just didn't happen. Fell apart, didn't it? Cars are already out in the pit lane, by the way. Everybody's out in the pit lane as the rain continues to fall. I mean, it's looking like it could even get to the point where full wets are required. Obviously, everybody's going to go out on intermediate tyres because the full wets might as well not exist at this point. Lando Norris. Rain is expected to continue at this intensity. So the rain is going to continue to fall. Red Bull 2023 or Mercedes 2020. Oh, that's a pretty tricky choice, to be fair. Wasn't Mercedes 2019 is the one that always sticks out in my head. Anyway, we are underway in this final qualifying session for the sprint qualifying weekend. Zhou Guanyu trying to muscle his way in front of a Red Bull. Absolutely not. That is not going to happen when Max Verstappen is behind the wheel. So Zhou Guanyu slots in behind Max Verstappen. It's Lando Norris going to be first across the line. Oh, it was Sergio Perez, actually, who was having a little tete-a-tete with Zhou Guanyu. Fernando Alonso comes out in front of Zhou as well. The two stake cars at the back of this little pack. So Norris is going to be first across the line. It's then the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, who are all actually bunched up pretty close. I think Verstappen is trying to jump the queue a touch. Oscar Piastri. Oh, no, sorry. Is it Oscar Piastri first? Oscar Piastri is first. Then Max Verstappen is jumping the queue, so he's going to be second across the line. Then Sainz, Leclerc. Norris is fifth in this queue. Sergio Perez, Alonso. Oh! Charles Leclerc off the track and into the barriers and keeps the engine running. Oh my goodness me, that was very close from Charles Leclerc. Is there any damage to that Ferrari car, or is he able to just continue? He's dropped in behind Lando Norris. Oh! Takes out a foam board as well. Oh, and it's a big hit. Then spinning. There's going to be a lot of gravel in the underside of that car. That's like a full pirouette and a half to Charles Leclerc. Front wing looks like it has survived, actually. That's a hefty shunt for Charles Leclerc, who loses it. Here we go, then. Oscar Piastri manages to make it all the way around. Max Verstappen with a little wiggle through the final corner, but he's going to start his flying lap too. Charles Leclerc dropping back in this pack, trying to catch back up again to Lando Norris, but it's going to be Lando Norris through the final corner first. Charles Leclerc coming to the pits. No, just going for it, okay. No, Charles Leclerc has come into the pits, yeah. I thought so. Leclerc into the pits then. Sergio Perez is across the line and starting his first flying lap. Charles Leclerc into the pits from what I can see, unless my radar's just stopped up. Oh, Max Verstappen's gone deep. Turn 6, he's made a mistake as Max Verstappen. So that has opened the door then. Max Verstappen is nowhere near going to be quickest. He's lost a lot of time there. Lando Norris then quickest so far through the first sector. Verstappen is going to have to effectively just sack off that lap. Oscar Piastri quickest through the middle sector so far. Of course, first driver through that middle sector though. Carlos Sainz going to be behind him. Stays there. Oh my goodness me. Oscar Piastri aquaplaning around turn 13. Down the straight then towards turn 14. This is going to be where you need to get this braking zone absolutely spot on. And it's a little bit deep from Oscar Piastri. Not the best turn 14 you'll ever see. Oh my goodness me. Come on, Oscar. Get it across the line at least. Yep, there you go. Through the final corner. Across the line. Sets the standard. A 2-minute, 2-second lap. Oscar Piastri. So that's going to be it for him. He's not going to be able to get round and have another go. Unless he goes straight on this set of intermediate tyres once again. Max Verstappen only 3 tenths off, considering that huge mistake. Carlos Sainz a 1.5 seconds off. There must have been a big, big error from Carlos Sainz in there as well. Lando Norris goes 4th fastest. Sergio Perez takes provisional pole. 2 minutes and 4 tenths of a second. Is Fernando Alonso. Only 5th fastest from Fernando Alonso. Quicker than Carlos Sainz at least. Carlos Sainz must be going again, right? You'd imagine. Zhou Guanyu, here he comes. Nope. 2 minutes, 7 seconds. Valtteri Bottas, though. 2:01. So Bottas goes 2nd fastest. And I think Stake kind of did a little bit of a toe there for Valtteri Bottas and pushed him a lot higher than we'd expect him to really be. Max Verstappen so careful through the middle sector. Just can't get his Red Bull through there. Fastest in the middle sector. Zhou Guanyu lap time deleted as well for him. Lewis Hamilton is just coming around the final corner all by himself. But there's a lot of cars wiggling around at this moment in time. A lot of drifting, as you say in the chat, yeah. Very, very tricky conditions out there for everybody. Lando Norris purple in the first and second sector. Lando Norris on an absolute sprint right now. Coming down the back straight. If he can get turn 14 nailed, this could be a really quick time from Lando Norris. Max Verstappen has lost a little bit of his time through that middle sector. Oh, and he goes off into the gravel at the final turn. Max Verstappen, he's going to continue and finish the lap, but it's going to be lap time deleted. Oh, and Lando Norris has also lost it through the final corner. No. Oh, it was so quick from Lando. That's probably going to be deleted, though, because he went across and into the gravel. And I think that's going to be lap time deleted for Lando Norris there. Fernando Alonso. Go on, then. Coming across the line. Fastest. Fernando Alonso takes provisional pole with a minute left to go in this session. Is anybody else going to go for another fast flying lap? Thank you for subscribing, Kirsty. Appreciate that massively. Charles Leclerc then. Coming around the final corner. Can he actually make it? We've seen Max Verstappen and Lando Norris go off there. Nope. Charles Leclerc clean through the final corner. Across the line. And third fastest. So it's Alonso, Perez, Leclerc at this moment in time. Lap time deleted for Max Verstappen. There is the confirmation because he went off of the track. So no lap time for Max Verstappen in all of this. 9th fastest right now. Lewis Hamilton. Oh my goodness me. So deep through turn 14 from Lewis Hamilton. There's Lando Norris's lap time deleted as well for you. Hamilton round the final corner. 5 seconds on the clock. So he's going to have another run at this if he wants to. But goes quickest. Lewis Hamilton takes pole position by 0.8 of a second. What a lap from Lewis Hamilton. Checkered flag is out. Oscar Piastri is just coming around the final corner. Oscar Piastri then goes 5th fastest, stays where he was. Carlos Sainz is behind though in the Ferrari. Let's watch him go through that final corner. Gets it there. Max Verstappen, 2nd fastest. Carlos Sainz, 4th fastest. Lando Norris takes pole! Come on! Lando Norris snatches it. 1.5 seconds quicker than Lewis Hamilton in all of that. Come on. Zhou Guanyu coming down the pit straight. It's Fernando Alonso on a flying lap is what we need to know. Lando Norris's lap time deleted. No. Oh, for God's sake, man. Just do a clean lap. Fernando Alonso goes 2nd fastest, 0.5 of a second between Hamilton and Alonso. Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas, though, coming around the final corner. Zhou Guanyu stays 10th in that. Valtteri Bottas, it was a slow middle sector for Valtteri Bottas. But he comes across the line and stays 8th fastest. So it is pole position for Lewis Hamilton in all of this. Hamilton first, Fernando Alonso in 2nd place. Hamilton's actually on a flying lap right now, but doesn't need to improve. Will he come straight into the pits? You'd imagine so. No. Wants to finish the lap, does Lewis Hamilton. So goes around the final corner. Let's see him finish this final flying lap. Then can he improve? Yes. Hamilton's 2nd. What? Whoa. Lando Norris has been reinstated. What on earth? Lando Norris takes pole. Lando Norris. Yes, come on, boys. Lando Norris on pole once again. Time will be reinstated. What? How? Why? So Lando Norris takes pole position in all of that. Lewis Hamilton drops to 2nd. What on earth? What has happened there? Alonso, third fastest. Verstappen will start in fourth. Carlos Sainz, fifth. Sergio Perez, sixth. Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri will start the sprint race from the final point scoring position. Remember, the top 8 score points in the sprint race. And then Valtteri Bottas in 9th place. Zhou Guanyu in 10th. I'm so confused. I mean, Lando Norris, take a bow, mate. Have that pole position. Why not? Is there? I'm a little bit lost as to how it happened, but there we are. I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So they're arguing that. So effectively, what should happen is when you're on the gravel, like you're off the racing line, and you're off the track, you've gone past the white line. You should go, quicker if you're off the track, effectively. But because there's gravel there, well, you're not going to go quicker. You're going to go much, much, much slower. So the McLaren team have argued that actually he lost time by breaking track limits instead of gaining time by breaking track limits. So the lap has been reinstated. Okay. I'll take it. Love that, though. So, just to run through the whole grid, Lando Norris will take pole position tomorrow for the sprint race. Hamilton will be beside him in second. Fernando Alonso in third. And Max Verstappen in fourth will be on the second row of the grid in his Red Bull. Carlos Sainz, fifth place, and Sergio Perez in sixth, just behind his teammate. Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri will round out the point-scoring places at the beginning of the sprint race tomorrow in 7th and 8th. Then the 5th row of the grid is an all-stake affair. Valtteri Bottas in 9th and Zhou Guanyu in 10th. There were 5 drivers to drop out in SQ2 in all of this. George Russell will start in 11th place. Kevin Magnussen 12th. Nico Hulkenberg 13th. Daniel Ricciardo 14th. Lance Stroll in 15th place. And then, of course, the drivers that dropped out in SQ1. Gasly will start in 16th place. He was just missed out on SQ2 in 16th. Ocon will start on the penultimate row of the grid in 17th place alongside Alex Albon in 18th place. And Yuki Tsunoda and Logan Sargent will be at the back of the pack at the start of the sprint race tomorrow, which we will be live for. So make sure that you hit the like button on this, subscribe to the channel so you are live here with me tomorrow for both the sprint race and, of course, the Grand Prix qualifying. Will be live for both of those tomorrow. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're here for both of those. And, of course, check out the Williams video. I know it is a little bit late in terms of when I released it, but there is a link to that Williams video and the fact that Williams have a real problem moving forwards for the rest of the season thanks to, let's call it, a shaky start to the 2024 campaign for the Williams drivers. So click that link in the description, watch that video. That would massively help me out. And of course, as I said, I'll be live here tomorrow. Thank you again. I will see you. Goodbye. Have a wonderful day. Do something exciting.